Yo, yo, yo! Welcome back to the MMA Short Show. As always, your boy, Stephen Moustaris. And today, I decided to hop over on MMA Twitter and try to find some of the hottest takes I could possibly find when it comes to the sport of MMA. And before I get into them, if you guys have any hot takes at all, please leave them down in the comments. I wouldn't be mad at all making this a weekly or a monthly video. Just going over the hottest takes around the sport, maybe even just finding out some of your guys' takes on what you guys feel about it. So let's get into it. Number one comes for Ariel Helwani when he says he wants the BMF title retired. Now, if you guys have ever watched any of my videos, you already know I'm the biggest BMF hater of all time. And, to truly answer this question, I'm actually torn more now. Because, on one hand, as much as I hate it, as much as I think it's a gimmick, and as much as I think it's just trying to get pay-per-views and a way to get The Rock to come out, I did like it with the Nate Diaz-Jorge Masvidal fight, although it ended terribly. But this is where it gets tough, man. On one hand, yes, would we have ever gotten the Max Holloway-Justin Gaethje fight at UFC 300 without the belt? No, most likely not, which was one of the greatest moments, especially as a Max fan, but as an MMA fan in general, that was one of the greatest moments we've ever seen. But at the same time, the very next fight, we see Max Holloway go out there and get knocked out by the man, the undisputed champion. And that's what we're here for, man. The BMF belt has always just felt like a WWE, little Money in the Bank type belt, just to get some views, just to get some pay-per-view points behind it, just to give us a reason to watch two former champions fight. But it's really hard to watch, the BMF belt, the BMF champion go on and get knocked out by the true undisputed champion. Everybody's always infatuated with the heavyweight championship, the big belt, the big one, the undisputed one. And when we got our BMF champions get knocked out by the actual champion, it just kind of just kills it. Is he really the BMF? Is he really that? And as a Max fan, it's tough to say, but he's not the BMF. Now it's Aaliyah Tapura, and now it's what? Now the next person that beats Tapura, it's weird when it comes to defenses. It's never been defended. We've never, Nate Diaz and Jorge Masvidal never even settled it. Jorge never defended it. Gaethje and Dustin Poirier, cool, is a good fight, but Gaethje goes out and gets knocked out, sure, but it's just weird, man. I just don't know, and I think it is time to retire it. I don't think any of these guys need these fights, but if they keep it around, I hope they can do something fun with it where they give us, more fights that maybe just would have never happened without this belt. So clearly, I think we can do without it. It doesn't feel like you're the BMF anymore when we just saw you get knocked out, but if it's going to continue to produce pretty cool fights, then sure. I guess I'm down for it. So, I'm definitely agreeing with Helwani here. So, all right, hot take number 2 comes from my man, Jake Gerber, MMA. Maybe this is a hot take. I don't know. If Volkanovski can survive the first round, I think he tunes Diego Lopes up like a new guitar. Diego's explosiveness fades quickly, and I think he's reckless at times. Volk can use footwork and speed to pick him apart. Am I wrong? This is definitely one of those ones I've been loving recently because I'm not even sure if it's a true fight yet, because the last time we just heard from Volk after he just, watched, Leo Tapura take out Max, it seemed like he was waiting for that fight and waiting for the championship. But no, I also saw the rumors. And if this fight is true, after watching my man Volk, do this to a lot of people, especially to my actual guy, Max Holloway, in that third fight, there's truly no denying at all that Volkanovski can do this to anyone. But I think what I can't agree with you on here, man, is Diego Lopes just seems like a different breed, dude. This is not the Korean Zombie. This is not Brian Ortega. This is not somebody that Volk has fought multiple times where he can kind of lock him in and whatnot. And especially Volk coming after 2 knockouts, man, it's gonna be a tough fight for him, especially somebody as explosive, like you said, as this man Diego Lopes. And I think what makes it different for Diego Lopes outside of the Mexican spirit and outside of having that dog in him, if you would have said maybe after the second or third round gassing out, I would probably agree with you more. And this is the thing with Diego Lopes, though. As great as he is lately at knocking people out, man is bread and butter when it comes to the ground and his jiu-jitsu skills. So I think, I don't think he would have any success taking Volk down, but I think if he started to get tuned up, I think he would try to shoot for takedowns. And I think where the tuned up part would come from is I think it would be ground and pound by Volkanovski if it ever happened. But, as somebody as explosive as Diego Lopes and as game as he is and willing to just throw and not give a shit, this is a scary matchup for somebody like Volkanovski coming off 2 knockout losses. And if this actually is the next way to go, it would be a great chance to get Volkanovski back on the winning ways, but this is a scary fight, man. And after one round of surviving, I don't think that's enough with Diego Lopes. I think you at least have to be very, very, high pace for 2 rounds with him, or maybe even 3 to gas him. And then, of course, in the championship rounds, this could easily happen. But I'm very intrigued for this fight, and I'm just not sure. I thought Volk was going for Ilia Tapira's rematch here, but I do like the take. I'm not mad at that at all. Now, this third hot take right here is one of my favorite ones as of late, especially it's been going on the last year or so, but, especially after last week, after Khamzat did what he did to Robert Whittaker. I mean, I've seen it all over the place. This isn't technically from one tweet, but I had to lock down Macaulay Russell's tweet when it said Khamzat ragdolls Bo Nickal with ease. And before I get too crazy into this, if I had to be honest here, I think it's almost pointless to even talk about this fight currently until this man Bo Nickal can go out and win a couple more. And as long as Khamzat can continue his success, it's going to be a while until we get this matchup. But man, as a person that loves talking about these fantasy matchups and whatnot, and hypothetical matchups, I love these, man. These are one of the funnest things ever as a fan, especially in sports. So when it comes to the two, I mean, it's our favorite thing in MMA right now. It's the state champion Division I wrestler from the U.S., maybe even could be an Olympic medalist if he wanted to, versus the Dagestani style of wrestling, man. It's been a thing since Khabib took over in his squad, and now Khamzat's doing its thing, and then we see Bo go out there and just dominate people. It's one of the funnest, options out there. It's one of the funnest, fantasy matches that we have. So when I truly think, it's easy to sit here and say that Bo Nickal clearly has a lot to prove. He has a lot to learn still in the sport compared to Khamzat, who has already fought, 4 top 5 guys now, former champions, and he's finally getting in there and doing his thing. And he has proven as well, which is another thing, that he can take off long periods of times in the octagon, still go in there and put on great performances. So ring rust doesn't seem to be a thing with him. But, I mean, I can't be the only one out there that's hearing these crazy stories of Bo Nickal literally going over to Dagestani and, literally destroying people. And I know I just messed up Dagestani, going over to Dagestani, I know, but going over to Dagestan to wrestle these guys, he's getting the best of them, killing them in the gym. So I'm excited for this one. I hope it really happens. But to say he's going to ragdoll him with ease, that's the part that, come on now, this guy, Bo Nickal has been wrestling since he's been in diapers, and so has Khamzat. So this one would just be so much fun to watch. And truly, though, the later that this goes on, and the older that Khamzat gets, and the more miles he gets on him, and the more maybe he gets sick and keeps the weight cut messing with him, I think it's going to favor Bo Nickal here in a few years, especially if Bo Nickal can continue to not get hit. So I mean, I'm excited to see how this goes, and you never know, Khamzat could go out there and lose his next championship fight, or if he even gets one and maybe loses 3 in a row, Bo Nickal can go out there and lose to anybody. Anything could happen. But if they can get to this fight, sign me up. I'm geeked for this one, man. Hot take number 4 comes from Blonded MMA when he says Sean Strickland is a more boring fighter than any Dagestani and or wrestler. And I mean, that right there, man, it's just that's terrible take. Terrible take. I mean, personally, as a fan, I never think any of these styles are boring. I think it takes so much skill to be able to neutralize somebody and hold them down for 25 minutes or 15 minutes. And I also think it's an incredible skill that Sean Strickland has to make some of the greatest, strikers that we've ever seen, or even great, grapplers, not be able to take him down nor ever get their offense off on the man. Like, his defense is second to none, and it's truly impressive to see what he does. And to go back and watch the Izzy fight alone, there's no way you can sit there and say he's more boring. And even if you want to bring up the Dricus Duplessis fight and, maybe the Jared Cannonier fight or any of these fights that you might call boring, I mean, at least this man, Sean Strickland, comes out at the press conferences and always says some crazy shit and always has a crazy clip coming out and always getting in trouble. Like, at least he makes it fun. There's no way you can sit there, even if you hate Sean Strickland, you can never sit there and say he's a boring fighter or a boring person. So definitely a hot take. Get that out of here, man. I had it. Some of these takes are just plain awful, and that one had to be one of them. Sean Strickland more boring than a Dagestani wrestler? Come on now. Couldn't be. And the 5th and final take of the day comes from the man Stipe Miocic himself when he just said, I believe people want to see me and John Jones fight, but I think a lot more people want to see the fight than him fight Aspinall. Jesus Lord, CTE. Now, when it comes to this fight, Stipe, I mean, my goodness, reading that just gave me CT, my goodness. But to be fair to the man, he's one half of this fight. So I'm sure in his world, his mentions, everybody around him, Yeah, I'm sure they're hyping this fight up with John Jones. They have to be. It's Stipe. You're not going to tell him, hey, man, we don't want to watch you fight John Jones, or at least to his face. You're not going to tell him this. We want to see him fight Aspinall. Like, come on. Now, to be fair, he's got to tell himself this to get excited for this fight, to get himself up. Sure, I get that whole point, but come on, man. You can't sit there and actually be that oblivious to the world right now. Nobody wants to watch 60-year-old Stipe fight an aging John Jones. If anybody wants to watch John Jones fight, it's either going to be Francis Ngannou or Tom Aspinall. I think we can all agree to this. Me personally, I was never mad at this Stipe fight with John Jones. I just wish it would have happened, 7 years ago like it was supposed to, and not us having to wait now, and it doesn't even feel like either of them are even, a product of the heavyweight division anymore. It doesn't even feel like they're even in it. It doesn't even feel like they're a factor anymore. So, at this rate, I think both of them are going to go on to retire, and I don't even think we're ever going to see the Tom Aspinall or Francis Ngannou fights, and it's probably going to be Tom Aspinall fighting Cyril Gane or some crazy shit for an interim title fight next year, and we pretty much sit there and lose any hope that we ever have for Tom Aspinall to get these major fights. So hopefully I'm wrong, but, come on, Stipe, you even know. Nobody wants to watch this fight. Sure, a couple years ago we did, but come on, man. But thank you guys for watching the video. And seriously, if you guys have any hot takes at all or any takes whatsoever when it comes to MMA, please leave them down below and I'll probably put them in the next video and hopefully we can continue this going. So as always, your boy, Steven Moustaris. Let's go, baby. Let's go.